Welcome to Frank Buckley Interviews. This time on the program, it's a conversation with Larry King. Larry had a stroke in March, and he revealed to me that at one point things seemed so bleak, he considered suicide.
I thought I was just going to bite the bullet. I didn't want to live this way. I didn't want to live dependent on others. I've had a full career. There's nothing I could add to it except just to do more. And I thought I don't know how to commit suicide. How do you commit suicide? I don't know how.
It's Larry King on who inspired him to keep going, his storied career, and who he's angling to interview in 2020.
Frank Buckley Interviews starts now.
Larry, it is great to have you on the program. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Great to be with you, Frank. We worked together at CNN for a spite of time, and good to work with you again.
Thank you, sir. It is great to have you back and healthy again as well. We all heard that you had had a health scare of some sort last spring.
Some sorts wasn't a word. It was in March, and I had just received a diagnosis of leukemia. However, it was chronic and not acute, and there's a difference between those two. Acute, you're not going to live long. Chronic, you could have as long as life. And they had just put me on a pill, and I was driving for a checkup, and the last thing I remember. And I woke up, and it was 2 weeks later, and they told me I had had a small stroke, and I had everything go. They put a new stent in my heart. They had to put that, the thing where they put on your chest?
Yeah.
I had that. I had no memory of it at all.
Your heart stopped.
Yeah, but I had no memory of this. So that was kind of lucky. So all I've seen, they showed me pictures of me in intensive. You don't want to go to intensive care. There are better places to be.
Yeah.
So I'm on the mend, and for someone 86 to gone through all the things I've gone through, I can't believe I'm around.
Well, and not just around, but still working.
Well, once I was able to get back to work, I fled. I'm going to work. Work is part of me. I'm 86, and I don't remember a time when I didn't work. I've been in this business 62 years. Holy. I mean, think about it. 62 years.
And isn't it something like 30,000 interviews?
Oh, more. They think 50,000.
50,000.
Maybe more. Because remember, when I did the all-night radio, which you're familiar with, I did the all-night show on Mutual, a lot of guests there, and on CNN 26 years, a lot of guests there. And before CNN, a lot of guests in local television, where I worked in Washington.
And Miami too, right?
In Miami, that's where I started. It all started in Miami.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that. You grow up in Brooklyn.
Yep.
How do you end up in Miami doing radio?
I tell you, all my life, Frank, I wanted to be on the radio. I thought about television, but briefly, about the radio. I used to imitate, when I was 6 years old, I would imitate what I heard on the radio. I'd go into another room and go, "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men, the shadow knows," or a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense, lights out, and I loved the theater of the mind at radio. But I was knocking around in some odd jobs, graduated high school, didn't go to college, worked for United Parcel Service for a while, helped around a truck. And a friend of mine introduced me in New York on the street to James Sermons, who was chief of staff announcers at CBS. And I said, what would you do if you were me? I want to get into radio, doing these odd jobs. He said, you ought to go down to Miami. There's no union, and there's a lot of stations. So there's guys on the way out and on the way in. Be a chance to get in. So I went down to Miami, auditioned, got hired at a small radio station, WAHR. I'll never forget this as long as I live. It was Friday, the last day of April, and the general manager called me in and said, you start Monday. You're a disc jockey, you'll play music from 9 to 12, and then in the afternoon you'll do sports and news. That's what you did $50 a week. Well, I was so thrilled. I went home, programmed all my music, and now it's May 1st, 1957. My thrill is about to occur.
Right.
I put on Les Elgart swinging down the lane, da-da-da-da-dum. I lower it, nothing comes out. I bring it up again, nothing comes out. 10 minutes before, they had just given me the name Larry King. I was Larry Zyga. And I was scared. And I did something that day that I would do today. And I learned a lesson that day, which is just tell the audience what's going on. So I shut down the thing. I said, good morning. My name is Larry King. I just got that name. I've been wanting to be on radio all my life, and this is my first day, and I'm scared. Please bear with me. Now, I told this later to other people. What I discovered naturally that day, not by genius, if you tell the audience exactly what the situation is,
Yeah.
any goof I made that day, it's his first day.
Right.
In fact, the guy once asked me, supposing you were walking down the hall at NBC, a guy grabbed you and said, Tom Brokaw's sick, you're doing the news, and handed you. I would say, I was walking down the hall and someone just grabbed me, and I'm doing the news. So, and then I got into television right away. A year later, I had my own, because the radio show really took off, and I had my own television interview show at Sunday nights, and Jackie Gleason was on that show a lot. And the career spiraled.
Coming up.
Don't think that because I interview you and I like you, you're a great person.
All right.
Because you could be a cad, and Bill Cosby was a cad, but I didn't know it.
Right.
He was a great interview.
More with Larry King when we come back. You were at CNN from when to when?
I joined CNN on their 5th anniversary, June 1st, 1985.
Right.
They started June 1st, 1980. Ted Turner called me, and he said, Sandy Freeman was doing the show at 9 o'clock. And he said, her husband is her agent, and he's driving me nuts. Would you like to do the show? Would you like to take over 9 o'clock on CNN? I'll tell you something funny about that show. The first night on Governor Cuomo of New York, I knew that show was going to make it. I don't know why. We were in small studios in Georgetown, but there was something about the whole CNN.
Television is not my medium.
All right, now Edward Bennett Williams, the prominent attorney, told me he thought you would be the strongest nominee. George Will, the conservative George Will, thinks you would be the and Richard Nixon, a pretty good judge of politics.
I have made a rule in New York State, believe it or not, not even to answer questions about the presidency. That's how I feel about it. I'm planning to run for governor again.
You had this remarkable ability to go into an interview. I got some papers right here, and I sketched down a few questions. It seemed to me that you would sort of go in with an encyclopedia in your head.
I never wrote out a question. I had blue cards with facts, which I
Right.
still have. And you need facts. You know, how long has this guy been in the Senate? Did he vote on something recently?
Right.
And then take those little facts and just go with them, man. You know, I'll tell you the thing, Frank, and I should break this to the camera. It ain't brain science. What we're doing here is not brain surgery.
To my bosses, that's not true.
But I saw
This is brain
I saw
surgery.
a funny cartoon in the New Yorker of brain surgeons, and they're all standing around the table, and the brain surgeon's about to start, and the guy next to him says, "It ain't television."
Let me take you to one particular interview where I think it illustrates your point of listening and also continuing to probe. This is Ross Perot. Before he announced, you asked him over and over, essentially three times. And finally, the third time around.
I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I asked him the first time, we were about 10 minutes in. Now I got no interest. So at 10 minutes after, he said he wasn't interested. At the bottom of the hour, 30 minutes after, he said, no, no, no. Now, 5 minutes to go, and I come up with this. Are there any circumstances, any, in which you would run for president? And he thought for a minute, and he said, well, if I get on the ballot in all 50 states, I'd do it. But I'd have to get on the ballot. When we finished, I was walking out the door with him, and he said to me, how do you think this is going to go? I said, I got no idea. And he called me the next day, and the bellman in his hotel left him an envelope with a $10 donation. And that spurred him on, and there was nothing like the Ross Perot extravaganza.
Other people who you've interviewed, who you've liked, who you connected with through this process?
A lot. I like most people to begin with. Most people are interesting. People are more interesting than you think. But I would say I certainly like Frank Sinatra. And I like Bill Cosby. And I did a show with Bill Cosby from the house he grew up in.
You like Bill Cosby when you hear about the
Sad.
conviction and all that.
I get sad, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was true. They nailed him to the wall. But the Bill Cosby I knew. And by the way, don't think that because I interview you and I like you, you're a great person.
All right.
Because you could be a cad, and Bill Cosby was a cad, but I didn't know it.
Right.
He was a great interview.
Yeah.
He answered the questions. He knew what the interviewer wanted. He was funny. So what am I going to do? Abandon ship?
Right.
I liked him.
Yeah. Who else? Who were some of the ones who you? Because I'm not going to ask you who are your favorite interviews, because
It's impossible.
with 50,000 interviews under your belt, how do you choose? But the ones who when you think, oh, man, that was a really good one, or I really enjoyed meeting that person.
All the comics.
The comics.
Seinfeld, Mel Brooks, Mel Rickles. Come on. Rickles used to put me away. Mel Brooks is still the funniest man I have ever known. I love comics. I did comedy. I did a tour. I did stand-up. When I speak at conventions or things, I always tell funny stories.
Still ahead, Larry King's surprising revelation that he considered ending his life after having a stroke.
I didn't want to live dependent on others. I've had a full career. There's nothing I could add to it except just to do more. And I thought I don't know how to commit suicide. How do you commit suicide?
This health situation that you've overcome, did it ever make you think for a second, maybe I should call it a day? 50,000 interviews, I've achieved every height.
In fact, I want the truth. The day I woke up in intensive care, and I knew I was in bad shape just by the people around me, the darkened shades. Cedar's a good hospital.
Yeah.
And my son Chance was just turning 20. And I swear to God, in those 5 minutes talking to him, I thought I was just going to bite the bullet. I didn't want to live this way. I didn't want to live dependent on others. I've had a full career. There's nothing I could add to it except just to do more. And I thought I don't know how to commit suicide. How do you commit suicide? I don't know how. Is there a pill you could take? There might be a pill.
I don't know.
I was ready to bite the bullet. And I said to him, Chance, and he started to cry. I hadn't seen him cry since she was 3 years old. And he said, you can't leave us. You can't leave us. And I changed that minute. I was losing thing, and then I wanted to get better. I wanted to get better, not to be on the air, but for the kids. There's nothing beats children. Nothing. The best thing I ever did in my life was be a father.
Yeah.
Anything else is secondary to being a father.
Yeah.
And when your children, I got 5 children, 3 grown, all are well, all done well. the gratification you get from that. Boy, you gotta appreciate it,
Yeah.
being a father.
Absolutely. But you never, so at that moment, you thought about it for a second, thought about, it sounds like quitting your life,
Thought
not just
about
your
biting the
career.
well, I was just being told what kind of life am I going to have. Not going to be able to walk. I'm very close. I'm not out of the woods yet. I've just had a new stent put in. I've got all these illnesses. I'm going to be a patient for a long period of time. And I looked at myself. I was 85. Why do I need this? You know, I used to be afraid of death, and now I'm not afraid of death. I don't know what changed, but I was ready to, as they say, bite the bullet. I was ready to kiss it off.
You say you're not afraid of death, and you were famously afraid of death.
Oh,
You used to read, I don't know if you still do, but the obits every morning.
I still read the obits, and I also looked into the idea of being frozen, because then I'd wake up in 100 years and they cured whatever I died of, and I'm alive again.
Yeah.
And someone said to me, but you won't know anybody. And I said, I'll make new friends. But no, I'm not afraid of it now, because it's the one thing all of us are going to face. And facing it is like, and when you face all these illnesses and you can come through and buy some time. I'm 86. Now let's look at it. What's the average age of the American male? 76, 77. I beat it by 10 years. My father died of a heart attack when he was 46.
When you were 9.
So I was 9. I beat him by 40 years. Something had to go right with me, or is that Paul Newman movie, somebody up there likes me. I do not believe in anyone up there. I know I'm not religious at all. That I lost a long time ago. And I lost that through interviews. Interviewing priests, and I was a good friend of Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Him I got along with. But they never had answers that I sought. I just couldn't buy it when they wouldn't get explain the Holocaust.
How can you
We
explain?
do not question the ways of the Lord. Now, wait a minute. You're a spokesman of the Lord. You don't question his ways. You don't speak up to him. You don't get angry. I don't believe in the Lord.
I don't want to be all morbid, but at this point in your career and life, do you start thinking about things like legacy and what I'm leaving behind and that sort of thing?
When I'm asked about it, yeah, I don't go around thinking about it. But my legacy would be he informed and entertained. I was always aware that I was informing people, but doing it in an entertaining manner. You know, you could read from the encyclopedia and inform people. I always knew that what I did I loved, and I brought, hopefully, brought an appreciation of that love to the radio audience or the television audience or the newspaper reader, or I've written 16 books, or people who buy books. I'm a communicator. I loved communicating. So if there were a legacy, it would be he communicated. He knew how to take guests or whatever it was, or the column in the paper, and deliver something that people would find interesting, funny, enlightening. Add to the lives of people who are your customers. And that's what they are.
I think you have done that, and you're still doing it. And so I would ask you, as you continue to do this, who are you looking forward to interviewing next? Who are the big gets that you have your eyes on?
Well, two of the gets I know very well, and that's Trump and Biden.
It is not a toupee, okay?
Okay?
All right.
Will you please inform the public?
It's not a toupee. Now, hold on.
I don't
Lean
say.
forward a little. It's not a toupee.
So the president and the guy running against the president are always big gets. I guess I've had all these people at one time or another who are running for office on my show.
Of those Democratic candidates, anyone else that you want here?
All of them.
All of them.
Oh, yeah. You know, something I've learned. When you put yourself up for office, I admire you. I may disagree with you, because you're going to face someday something I don't face and you don't face. You're going to face a Tuesday in November, and you're going to face rejection or accept. We have ratings, but they go up and down.
Yeah.
But if you run for office, there will be a Tuesday in November where someone will say goodbye. We don't get goodbyes.
Right.
Politicians get that. So I admire them all for standing. I could disagree with them, of course, but for standing up for whatever they believe in. And I always wanted to interview Castro. I went down to Havana. We came close, but we didn't get him. Ted Turner tried to get him because I was a friend of his. Because Castro amazed me. He led his country for more years than any leader in the history of the world. 60 years.
Yeah.
He led that country. Somebody had to like him.
Yeah. It's about the same number you've been doing this business, and I'll tell you, it has always been a goal of mine to sit down with you
Frank.
across the table, and what a pleasure this has been.
I loved working with you, Frank.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. If you'd like to hear more of my conversation with Larry King or hear any of the 180 conversations we've had on Frank Buckley Interviews, check out the Frank Buckley Interviews podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Have some feedback for us? Tag me on social media so I'll see it, or comment on the show when we post it to YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.